everyone! Welcome to our first Google Hangout presented by Belle, which is Brianna, Emily, Leah, and Lizzie. And today we're going to be presenting about 4 assessment tools that you can use in our classroom. So we're going to be Socrative, Nearpod, Kahoot, and Clickers. So first, I'll be talking about Nearpod. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my screen around so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So this is Nearpod, and Nearpod is basically an interactive presentation, collaboration, and assessment tool that can be used to transform the classroom. As teachers, you can create presentations that contain polls and quizzes and videos and images and drawings and stuff from the internet and a whole bunch of other things. This tool is web-based, and you have to have an account, and so I'll show you how to do that. First, you can go to My Nearpod. I already have an account, but if not, you could just hit log in. You can log in with your Gmail account. That's what I use. Just let it load. It's at nearpod.com. And this lovely little thing is your home page. So you can go to My Library, and that'll show you all the different things that you've already created. So some of your lesson plans. And to go back to that page, you can go to Home. So if you wanted to create something, you would hit Create here. So on this presentation, you can make a title, that's important, and you would click Add Slide, and you need at least 2 slides per presentation for it to become a presentation, but that's not that hard to do. So basically, you could add anything. So if you want to hit Add Content, you could add a slide, like a PowerPoint. You can add a video. You can add a slideshow. You can also click here, and it will take you to a virtual field trip. You can pick a different one. That can be included in there as well. Something else that you can do under Add Content would be to add an audio file or a PDF. You can link your Twitter, I believe, as well. So there's a whole bunch of things you can add there. Another thing you can do is to add things from the internet. For example, if you had a URL that you wanted students to be able to click on or to look at, you can put that here. And the big activity that you can use would be right here. So this is Add Activity. So what you can do with this is you could add something called an open-ended question. And by adding this open-ended question, a teacher, which would be us, is able to propose a question or set up a scenario for the students to write about, and then just let them have at it. So they can write about something that has to do with creative writing. That's where maybe this could come into the classroom. You just facilitate that creative writing tasks. And the cool thing about this Nearpod website is if you go back to your home, right here in this little handy-dandy section called Reports, if you click here, it keeps track of all the things that are done. So those open-ended question answers, they will be right here as well. And if you go back to creating a slide or a presentation, some other things you can do also would be to make a poll or a quiz. And making these poll or quizzes, you can create live informative assessments you can make your own quizzes, and the teachers can view them as the class progresses in a table. So basically, as the students are answering the questions, you would have your own iPad that you can look at and see how they're progressing, and that saves once again to that reports section, which is really cool about this website. And another thing that a poll is good for is if you want your students to do a self-assessment. So basically, if you're testing them on what they learned for the day and how well they remember it, you can use a poll to test their confidence level about it through something called a traffic light system. The red would be if they have a poor confidence level about what they learned about. Yellow would be a fair understanding of it. The green would be that they really understand it. And something else that's cool as well is this draw it function. So with that, it basically beams an interactive whiteboard to the student's device that they're using, and the teacher has the iPad, and you would have all the drawings that are submitted. So as a teacher, you would be able to share them with the class and show some of the good works that they're doing and model some of the progressions. And those also are saved to that report section on your Nearpod. Also, something that's really cool you can do as you're going through that presentation, which you make after all of this, you can have the students screenshot those images or handouts or anything in there that will be saved to the camera of the device they're using so they can go back and look at it. Also, you can provide a homework code for the students to use, which basically lets them access a pre-made presentation from any device that has internet, because Nearpod you can get on your computers, you can get on your Apple devices, you can get on Android devices, iPads, tablets, all that kind of stuff. So basically, if they have access to the internet, they can use that function. And something else that's really cool is if the student has something such as a visual impairment, the students can zoom into what the presentation is doing so they can see even better what's being said. And as a teacher, something that I think is really cool, you can go up here to hit explore, or you can go back to here and hit explore. And what that basically does is gives you a list of past presentations and lessons and resources that other students have used, and teachers, so you can go ahead and click through and use some of those if you would like to. And something that would be not too great about this would be, because it is technology, you could encounter difficulties because you can't really get access to a Nearpod unless you have that technology aspect and internet as well. So for example, if your student doesn't have internet at home, they wouldn't be able to access that homework code that you provided them. But a way to overcome that, at least in your classroom, would be to have, if you only have 1 or 2 iPads or a few computers, you can promote a lot of group work and collaboration, because you still can do that in the application as well. And you can use it for almost any device. I know it might be geared towards some of the older kids, but even with the younger kids, you can add a lot more audio into the presentations you're doing for the younger kids, or have pull-out groups and help them read with things and answer questions and that kind of thing. So that pretty much sums up Nearpod. And if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to ask.
I was actually wondering, you mentioned that it was accessible for computers and for tablets, but would it work on something like a smartphone? Because I know, like you were saying, a lot of kids may not have computers or tablets, but a lot of their parents may have smartphones.
That's true. Yes, it does. You can get the app on Apple devices and Android devices, so if their parents have access to internet on their phone or that kind of thing, they can also use it there.
What about within, for teachers who teach kindergarten through 2nd grade, do you recommend that within their classrooms? Do you think it's good?
Go ahead, bud. I think that you definitely would have to make some kind of modification for it, because if the students can't really read yet, that would be a problem. But you can always embed audio files into your presentations. Like maybe if you have a pre-recorded podcast of reading a book or something like that that they can listen to and follow along with, you can put that in your presentation just as you would in a PowerPoint and that type of thing. And there's also some a form of a quiz that can go in there, and it goes with memory cards, like you would play like the memory game. So even like things like that might be an easier version of assessing them.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm Brianna, and I will be introducing you guys to Socrative. So I will flip the screen real quick so you can see my screen. Okay, so Socrative, if you go on to Socrative.com, I'm already on there and I'm logged in as a teacher. Socrative allows teachers to view and engage with their students on any type of electronic device. That can be iPads, computers, and also smartphones. A lot of people have smartphones nowadays. Teachers, you're also able to, you can start a quiz. You can create quick questions. You can create a space race, which space race is pretty cool, especially if you have, if you're in a middle school classroom. That's a really cool portion of Socrative. It's very competitive, so if you have some competitors in your class, start a little competition, and it also gets their brain moving. We also have an exit ticket, which when you're leaving, when your kids are about to leave the classroom, you can put up a exit ticket with any questions that you would like that the students can answer before they leave. So, as I was saying earlier, it's an easy, accessible tool. It's free to sign up with your information. If you're for teachers, you're going to just need to make sure you enter your school, and also it'll ask where you're from, the basics. Now, what we're going to do first is, as you can see, I'm logged over here as a teacher. Over here, this is what the students will see if they sign in as a student. It'll ask them to join a room, and it'll ask for the teacher's room. We are each given a special code. So this would be my classroom, and the student would enter to join the room. So right here I have that up for them already. So I'm going to click that real quick. Oh, that's why. See, messed up a little bit there, but it's okay. Corrections are made. Now, it says waiting for your teacher to start an activity. That is what they will see until I actually start their activity. So if I want to do a quick question, I can create a quick question, but they can't see it until I actually send it to them. So over here, we're going to come over to my screen. You have an area that says, well, it does not say anything, but this little tool here is where you will manage quizzes. This right here is your home area where you can actually begin to make any type of question. This is our start a quiz. If you have a quiz that you want to input, you can just go ahead and do that for your quick questions. There's really not a whole lot of preparation for it. However, it's something simple. Give it to them in the beginning as a warm-up. Again, competition for the space race, that's big, especially for students who like to compete against each other. The exit ticket, you're able to actually quickly check their understanding before they leave your classroom. They can even do this with their smartphones as they're leaving for the end of the day. It just depends on what your school actually wants them to do. Over here, you have your number of students in your room. Right now, I have 0 in my room because I haven't sent them anything, so they're not working on anything. You are able to, you have settings, and you can clear a room. You can clear your students from a room. You have access to your profile. If you need any help, of course, you can push help, and your logout is there. Now, when you want to, where you create the quiz, you get to design your actual own assessment. You can also, we're going to go and start a quiz if it'll let me. Oop, not letting me do it. All right. I need it to let me do it. Let's see if it'll let me. Okay, well, it thought, there we go. Had to go manage it. So you have create a quiz, import a quiz, your quizzes, which would already be yours, and reports. To create a quiz, obviously you're making your own. To import quizzes, the cool thing about this is you actually can communicate with other teachers around the world, and you can import their quizzes. They're using a actual number. It's a certain type of code that you have to type in to import it onto your computer. You also have your own quizzes. This is where your quizzes will be stored. And then you also can see your reports. This is after the students have actually looked at their, have taken the quizzes, and you can just look at how they did. So your students are going to see this screen. Some students will be asked to enter their name, but it'll actually end up being anonymous later on. over here, we are going to just go ahead. If we go over to create a quiz, we'll do that. The create a quiz is pretty cool. You name your quiz. So if I wanted to name my quiz, I would name it United States of America. Something simple. You're able to share a quiz. Now, if you share your quiz, right now it's turned on. If I turn it off, you won't be able to. But this is the SOC, which is the code. You just need to know the actual number. So any other teacher, if you give them that code, they will be able to import your quiz to theirs. Now, there's 3 different types of questions that you can add. You can add multiple choice, true or false, short answer. Of course, I'm going to pick short answer because I'm a big short answer fan. You can turn on and off formatting. So you can do it this way, or you can do it this way. This way seems to be easy. You can add images. You're able to save your questions. You can add correct answers. You can add other questions. You're able to have an explanation as well. The explanation is this is your quick feedback, and it'll give you an explanation of what the actual answer is and why it's that answer. You actually have to put yourself. So we're going to go back to here. Oh, there was an issue with my quiz. We're going to save and exit. Or not. So we'll go over here, and it's not going to let me. I don't know why. We're going to delete it. Delete the question. There we go. Delete the quiz. Now, there's a area which it's called tagging. I won't be able to show you that today, but tagging, you actually can add a tag. And what that does is that allows you to take any Common Core standard and add it to your question. So teachers know exactly what you are actually teaching in the classroom, what standards it meets. So we are going to go over to our homepage. We're going to just start a quiz real quick. And we'll do our World's Facts quiz. This lets you get to choose what type of quiz that you're starting. Again, students are waiting, as you can see over here. You can pick a student-paced, which gives them immediate feedback, which will either be, is it correct or is it incorrect? You can have a student-paced, which is that allows the students to actually edit, skip, and go through the actual quiz by themselves, however they please. Teacher-paced, for teachers like myself, I like teacher-paced. I like to have control of what question they're going to go on to next, so everybody has enough time. You're given additional settings as well, and with these additional settings, you can turn on and off whether or not you want to disable student names. You can randomize answer order, so it's not always going to be everybody choose B. Someone on everybody else's screen can have something else. So we're just going to turn that off right there. We're going to go ahead and start. So what's the world's longest river? This is going to be Lewis, and their name's going to be Clark. Clark Lewis has to choose an answer. So he sees exactly what I see on my screen. So I have opened it up to him. So he's going to choose one. Now, what's the world's longest river? He decides he's going to choose the Nile. He'll submit his answer. They have to wait for me, and I can actually show them how many students if I wanted to. I did not turn on the actual feedback, so they don't get to see their feedback right now, but I can show them how they did. 100% of the class decided, since we only had one, but if we had other students, you would know the percentage of the class of what choices they choose. You can pick another answer. Is true or false? The other question, is it true or false? The diameter of Earth is 8,000 miles. If I were to say true, submit my answer. How did we do? Oh, they got it right. Now, down here is where I said the show explanation is. That lets you know, again, whether or not the answer is correct and what makes it correct. So we're going to go back to manage my quizzes. Actually, we're going to go back to my quiz itself. We're going to finish the quiz. There's different options that you can choose, but everything gets saved. You can either select Get Reports, View Chart, or to Dashboard. I want to actually see our chart. This is what the chart would look like if it pops up. This allows you to know exactly what the student has chosen. It'll tell you what questions they're having difficulty on. I can change it from their score or their progress. So their progress was they were 40% done with the quiz itself. I can put them in order from A to Z or backwards from Z to A. It'll tell you the percentage. You can actually click it and it'll go back to the actual question and back to the results table. If I go over to report, I can also go to Get Reports. Which report would I like? You can either do a whole class Excel sheet, so it will do it for you. It'll take all that data that was there in a few minutes ago, and it'll show you that. You can see individual students. If I wanted to see an individual students, you can. It'll give you the actual specific question. And then you can actually choose, if you have a Gmail account, you're able to log in through your Gmail, and you can save it on your Google Drive. You can actually download it as a PDF if you would like, or just as a Word document. A lot of people choose email, but for me, I'm not logged into my Gmail account right now, so I don't have my Google Drive on, but that's where I would send mine. Now to dashboard, that's just in front of us. That's all that is. So that'll take us right back here. But that is the end of my portion. Are there any questions? Let me turn myself back around. Hello. Are there any questions?
Does that assessment tool, does it let you like read it out from the website, like the audio or anything, for those who want to hear it, or is that not allowed?
When I was exploring through the tool, they didn't actually have an option to do that. I think that would be very beneficial to a lot of students, but as of right now, from what I had found, no.
Okay.
Now, do you think that could be a way to actually like, usually that's an option on the computer, so could that be embedded from the computer as well? Could that be an option?
I don't see why it couldn't be an option. Now, if you're not completely tech savvy, like myself, maybe not. If you are tech savvy, you probably can, but for me, I don't actually know.
Okay.
And then I was questioning, I know you said close to the very beginning that the teacher had to give permission for the students to look at something. Is that for every single thing? Because my concern with that would be is that, because I know you said, oh, the teacher has to allow the students to look at this question. Is that for every single activity they do? So is it like, oh, the teacher needs to give permission to answer the question, then permission to watch the video, then permission to do the activity? Because there's potential for that to go wrong if the teacher gets called away to do something, then they can't proceed with the lesson.
Right. Okay, so I chose teacher paced. So if you actually, there were 3 different options. You can do student. You have 2 student options. The first student option is they are given feedback right away. The other option is they actually can edit the questions. So they can either choose how the question's worded. They are given the option to go on to skip questions and they can go back to them. But because I did teacher paced, that's the only reason why I had to give them permission. Now, if I was in my classroom too, I would already have my stuff logged in, so if I had someone filling in for me, I would just send them to my computer. Are there any other questions?
Oh. Do you think that is it geared at a certain age group? Do you think more so than a different? Or you think it could be used
I think it can, okay. Well, I think depending on the age group, I definitely wouldn't say kindergarten. I mean, if you have a kindergartner who knows how to use technology and is very advanced in that area, maybe. But for students, I would probably, the lowest grade would probably be second, but you can modify it so that your students are able to
Okay.
answer the questions. So, alrighty. Well, thank you.
All right, so we are beginning. My name is Emily, and I am doing the website Kahoot. So I'm going to turn it around for the screen. Okay, so this is the main screen of Kahoot. You log on. Once you log on, this is the main screen you come to. There are different ways that Kahoot can be used for the classroom. So we're going to talk about the first, which is just where it says Create New Kahoot. So it talks about the quiz, the discussion, and the survey. So we're going to start with our quiz. Okay, so I actually have one in here already made. However, we're going to start off by doing a random quiz. So we're going to call this Florida. Okay, so what is their nickname is what we'll start off with. And basically, you can put anything in here. You can say the tree state, the sunshine state, or the sunflower state. And then you as the teacher, you can point down what your time limit is, and it sets any time up to 120 seconds, which is 2 minutes. And then you can do points or no points for the questions. And you can just choose which is correct or incorrect. And then it just pops up correct, and then you would just go to the next question down here where it says add question. And then basically that's how you do the quizzes. And then you can duplicate it if you would like. And then once you get the next question, you can go back to the question. You would just have to click right over in here. So we're going to go back to the main screen. Okay, so this is our discussion. So we're going to start off by asking a question. We're going to say, what is your favorite type of dessert? So we can go in, and basically it would just start a discussion. You would have like a place where you can comment. You can put photos in if you would like, and you can also do that for the quiz. And then you would have, just put in your answers the same as before. So we're going to go once back again, and we're going to go to the survey. So we're going to say, what is the best type of chocolate? So we're going to go dark and milk chocolate just to do this part. And then you would save and continue. And then they would choose at this point. You would just type in the question again. So it's just the same thing. It's the same setup. So, and then they would answer, and then your results would show, which is where it would show your difficulty level and stuff like that. Okay, so now we are going to go on to the section of Kahoot that actually allows games. So there's a section on here. Okay, I don't know what happened to it, but there it is. Okay. So we have our public Kahoots, which are automatically, you don't have to get an account or anything for this. It shows different kinds. It could be something such as geometry for our middle school and high school students, different kinds of food groups. You can do probability, area, perimeter. It just depends on what people have created, and they can play these games. So that's just one way of doing that. But when you do pull it up, so we're just going to go to life cycles real quick. Okay, so you would go to classic just for right now. Otherwise, teen mode is a little different, and we'll discuss that in just a little bit. Okay, so you would put in this website right here, kahoot.it, and then you would enter this code right here, and then it would allow you to play the game. You can do this on a smartphone, a tablet, a computer, any kind. So you would just put that in at that point. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the two kind of modes that are in the game. So we have ghost mode and team mode. So team mode collaboration is just basically a section in where you would team up with somebody and you would play the game. It could be up to 4 players, and it just depends on whatever it is. This teaches students how to team build. Okay, and ghost mode is a little different from everything else. Ghost mode is where they basically can play against themselves and better themselves. So they basically get the same score as before as their target, but then they would complete better. Okay, so different ways it's used in the classroom. It gives a student a different view or a different way of learning through games. It's a different method of teaching as well if you use it. Reviewing more work in the classroom that you have learned is also a way of doing this. And also this site gives different tips and ways of mastering how to use Kahoot, which would be viewed in this video. And she goes over everything on how to maneuver the site once again if you have any further questions. Okay, and that's pretty much Kahoot. Is there any comments or questions?
Do you think that it's geared towards a certain age group more so than another age group? Like younger or older or a certain subject or anything like that?
I would think anywhere in between the younger age groups. Up to first grade can do it because it's an interactive game. So not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily give it to a kindergartner personally. Because they're still, like I said, they're not really technologically advanced.
Mm-hmm.
At 6 or 7 years old, they're going to know how to work an iPad, which is usually what schools use or Apple products.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be able to use that. So that would be my answer.
Oh yeah, I've seen Kahoot used with older students, and hence like my 4th graders, and I've also seen it used with 1st graders as well. So they get a pretty good idea because it's an interactive game. So it's more like a game that they can play around with, and it's not quite like a typical assessment.
No, the only downfall to these is that they would, just like we mentioned before, it would be the internet down or the iPad not working, or something technical that would interrupt this.
Yeah. Just so notice that just watching the kids do it, is some of the kids get discouraged because when you do access the point system, it takes the correct answer into account, but also speed. And some kids are faster readers and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So then
that's another downfall to this tool, that they actually give a time limit. So.
Do you know, can you only have 4 choices for options, right? You can you can make it less, but you can't have more than 4, right?
Yes, you can only go up to 4. So.
Because it corresponds with the shapes too, right? Isn't that how that works?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought. Thank you.
All right, and that's my presentation on Kahoot. Thank you for listening.
So, I'm next. I'm Leah. I am the last presentation we're going to be doing on this Hangout today, and I am going over how to use clickers. So, this is the homepage you would see on Clickers without logging in or anything. Clickers is really cool. It's downloadable on an Apple or Android product, and basically you would have this on a computer or on a smart board in front of the class to see, but you would use it along with your phone or your tablet. So basically what Clickers does is it uses these cards. I'll show you. So you can print out these sets with, some of them have more cards, some of them have less, some of them have larger font than normal, and this is kind of just a picture of what a card might look like. This is just one card. And so this is the labeled number 1 card, and you have A, B, C, and D. And each card looks a little different. Like you can see the holes are here and here versus the 2 on this side. And see, this one's labeled number 2, number 3, etc. And so students would be given these cards, and what you would do is you create a classroom. So here on the computer you can go to classes, and as you can see I have a couple classes in here already from already using this product, but we'll add a new class to show you. And you can have your class name. For example, we could say this is summer course. And this one is geared towards college students, so I could say other, but you can have anything in here from 12th grade to pre-K. And then you can also specify the subject area, such as this is a computer course, but there's creative arts, music, health, science, math, all that stuff. And you can even pick a color, so we'll just use that one. And then you have your classroom. And so you can add students one at a time. So I could type in my name, Leah, and then I would be assigned to the very first card. So that's why the cards have the numbers, so that way each student can be assigned. So you know, oh, I know that Leah is answering these questions right, wrong, that kind of thing. Or to do it faster, instead of entering the names one by one, you could click Add Roster, and you could put a list of names and add it to the clickers. Or you could, and then when you're done, you could print the roster. And then once you have your class in order, you can go to start coming up with questions in the library. So here in the library, you have access to all these questions, and you can come up with questions on here, or you can have mobile uploads, like for example, oh, this is one sent up here from my phone. But let's see what else we have. Go to my library, we can create a new question. So we can say, what am I studying? And you can make this a multiple choice or true-false question. And you can say, this is a computers course, so we can put computers, English, history. You can have up to the 4 options. I would say, oh, computers is the right one. You can add an image if you want to. And once you're done with your little question, you can save it. Or you could save and create a new one if you have a list of questions you want to come up with for an assessment. So we'll just save that. And then what you would do is you could add it to your queue, which is adding it to a specific class. So I could say, oh, I want to add it to this class, the tech summer course. And then you could see it come here on the side. Or I could go, oh, I want to see what questions are in here. Oh, what questions are in here? And you can see all the list of questions for that, specified for that class. Now, what would happen when you would be using this product is on your computer you would go into Live View, and then on Live View, my phone isn't cooperating today, so I can't use it. But what you would do on your tablet or phone is you would access the questions and submit it to the Live View, and then the Live View would show your question on the screen, and then students would hold their cards up with whatever response they were giving. So go back to the cards real quick. For example, if person 1 wanted to say B was the correct answer, then they would hold their card up this way with the B facing upward toward the ceiling, and things like that. So, and then the teacher would take their tablet or phone and would go around and scan the cards that are around the room. I know it's a little hard to explain without actually seeing it, but that is the basis of what would happen. And then what's really cool about this that I like is the reports section. So you can see question history where people have answered questions. So you can see, oh, everyone in the class answered the question correctly, 100%, and this is what everyone answered. And here is the question, here are the possible responses, here's the class, here's the date that this was done, kind of thing. Or there's also score sheet, which is really helpful. And basically for score sheet, what you can do is it shows you the data, all sorts of data for the class based on the question you ask them. So just to show you, this is something I used in the past, so we'll just say March 7th to April 7th. Yep. Okay, so as you can see here, I did an assessment with Dalton and Megan, who had cards number 1 and 2, and you can see how much the entire class got correct, and individual student responses, and what questions they got wrong, that sort of thing. And you also have the help button, and that is basically Plickers. Are there any questions, comments?
I have a question. Where do you get those cards? The scan ones? Can you print them off of something, or do you order them?
The website, it offers a variety of them, so here, I'll go back and...
I think I saw one that said Amazon, but I wasn't sure if you could also print them out or how that worked.
You have the cards right here, and the standard card pack is free.
Okay.
And basically, they just mention Amazon because what they recommend is having a more durable card, because if you just print it on a piece of paper, handing it to younger kids, they may rip them or damage them somehow.
Can't you just laminate them yourself, though, and do exactly what Amazon pays?
Yeah, exactly. You could do it yourself. They caution you on what type of lamination, because some of them are too shiny, and then the scanner
right.
And that would be an issue potentially with the website. But a biggest concern I thought of was just having the card, kids lose their cards.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you assign them to specific kids and say, hold on to your card, instead of collecting them, younger kids may lose it.
Right.
But one thing I actually noticed in my placement, a teacher used it, was they had their students glue their cards in a specific notebook. And so then they take out their notebook and hold them.
Yeah, I think a lot of these tools we talked about today are really good for placements. I know that I haven't been able to teach a lesson or anything yet with them, but I think they'd be super cool to use in the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've never heard of Plickers until now.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't heard of any of these. I think I heard of Kahoot by accident because I just saw the shapes on something, so I didn't know what it was, but now I do.
I think I've also, in one of my placements, they used the Mastery one for like a homework or a warm-up. So they use it usually for a warm-up in the classroom on a smartboard. So it really helps.
Yeah. I've seen all these resources. I really like Plickers just because then, like you saw, you have the access to the score sheet, and then if you have it set to a specific classroom, you can see, oh, this student is doing this well or needs help with this specific question or this type of question, and those are printable. So you can have.
And you.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And you can save more than one class, right? You can save up to however many classes on your device or whatever.
So for example, cool. I could have a class of 4th graders, and I could have a separate class for math, science, reading, social studies.
Okay.
Cool.
I definitely like the report section of it. I think it was cool that they can turn it into, they can email it to you. I thought, especially for mine, I thought they can, it was really cool just to email, because I use my email all the time. So that's a great way. Now, Google Drive, since we're using Google Drive all the time, I think that's a really cool way too. Unfortunately, I didn't have my Google Drive up because I wanted it out, but it didn't work.
I know a lot of local school systems are actually teaching their children how to use Google Drive as well, rather than just Word and stuff like that, because of it being online free. So that might be another way that the world is going. So
I agree.
To submit everything by link.
Yeah, exactly. You have it all right there, and you can still make updates to it, which is cool, But then you can still turn in type of thing. But
yeah, that is Plickers. I was the very last one, so does anyone have anything else they'd like to add? Did anyone have a favorite tool or anything like that? Something they really liked, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I found that a lot of.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said I like all of them, but you can.
So I know. Okay. I just was going to say, I think a lot of the new tools that we have, they all have a common obstacle. There's always one thing that's the same. So I know, Lizzie, you had the whole thing with the iPads. My obstacle was not having enough iPads or not having internet access. All that can be affected with every tool.
Mm-hmm. Which can kind of stink because since we're going so far into relying so much on technology, unless there's some way to everyone can get any internet everywhere, which in Korea and places sometimes you can do that, but that's not here, so that's a problem.
Yeah.
I feel like teachers need to have, even just as a future reference, so I think that we need to have a backup to these, just in case something, maybe your computer dies, and it does happen, in school systems that your
All
computer
the
might
time.
die, and what are you going to do without that computer?
Oh yeah.
You might want
You
to
still
have
have
a
to have a
paper
lesson.
copy, just in case. So, I mean, that's the huge thing with technology.
Oh yeah, I watched it happen. I watched a student in her senior internship. She had a lesson and she was going to use it on the smartboard, had it all planned out, and then the smartboard wasn't working. And so she had to make adjustments on the spot, and it
You
worked
didn't
out.
have a projector or anything to use?
The projector portion was working just fine, but the smartboard wasn't working, and she was using technology where the smartboard activity was the point of the lesson.
Okay.
So, and she adjusted
Oh.
it wonderfully, but it's important to have that backup plan.
Okay.
Definitely
having
important.
Go ahead. Having these assessment tools is very helpful, and they're really cool. Like I said,
I didn't know.
I really like the score sheets because then you have it right there. Because if it works, then you can print it, you have it, and you can have a paper copy, or you can have an online copy. Whatever works best for you.
I didn't know there was this many tools out there. Just for assessment. I know our other ones too. They're all kinds of different documents and stuff. Like, it's really cool how many things there are out there for teachers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We have all of them to add to our Dugos. Put them on there.
But yes, we have a lot more for tools that we're going to go in over on these. But I think that wraps up
I think
the
so.
first Hangout.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.